veterans organizations that will help our veterans get every damn thing that they deserve because they signed on the dotted line to keep us safe.
Now, it is true and has been acknowledged that I don't have a similar biography to defense secretaries of the last 30 years. But as President Trump also told me, we've repeatedly placed people atop the Pentagon with supposedly the right credentials, whether they are retired generals, academics, or defense contractor executives. And where has it gotten us? He believes, and I humbly agree, that it's time to give someone with dust on his boots the helm. A change agent, someone with no vested interest in certain companies or specific programs or approved narratives. My only special interest is the warfighter. Deterring wars, and if called upon, winning wars by ensuring our warriors never enter a fair fight. We let them win, and we bring them home. Like many of my generation, I've been there. I've led troops in combat. I've been on patrol for days. I've pulled the trigger down range, heard bullets whiz by, flex-cuffed insurgents, called in close air support, led medevacs, dodged IEDs, pulled out dead bodies, and knelt before a battlefield cross. This is not academic for me. This is my life. I led then, and I will lead now.
So we have to talk about Pete Hegseth because obviously he had, his confirmation hearing and it went just the way you would probably expect. But before we get into that, before we can even get into the embarrassment that the Democrats put on display, because they absolutely got embarrassed. For example, Pete Hegseth's chances of getting confirmed shot up to 90%. Yeah, 90% on the betting market. So, I think that tells you everything you need to know about how it went. But before we get into that, of course, you had Democrats in there trying to protest. So, check that out.
And readiness.
You may continue, sir.
Returning the Pentagon back to warfighting, that's it. That's my job.
Mr. Hegseth, suspend your remarks. Let me just say this. The Capitol Police are going to remove immediately individuals that are disrupting the hearing. I see a pattern attempted to be inflicted on the committee, and we're simply not going to tolerate that. You may proceed.
To bring back warfighting, if confirmed, I'm going to work with President Trump and this committee to, one, restore the warrior ethos to the Pentagon and throughout our fighting force. In doing so, we will reestablish trust in our military, addressing the recruiting crisis, the retention crisis, and readiness crisis in our ranks.
Members of the security force will remove members.
Yeah, ridiculous, right? Absolutely ridiculous. But that's Democrats for you. So, not very shocked about that. But now let's get into the Democrats and their line of questioning, because a lot of it was just absolutely ridiculous. With that being said, check it out.
You're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years? You're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
You'll be the one, let us just be clear, in charge of the generals. So you're saying sauce for the goose, but certainly not sauce for the gander?
I would want to see what the policy of the president
I'll
is.
bet you would.
Thank you, Senator Warren. Senator Tuberville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your hard work and your committee's hard work, Mr. Chairman. This has gone well. I'd like to submit this letter topic, conduct at Vets for Freedom for Hegseth. I'd like to submit that for the record, please.
Without objection.
General Hegseth, Mr. Hegseth, thanks for being here today and with your family. I know this is tough. That's what it's all about, though. You're a tough guy.
Would you use our military to take over Greenland or an ally of Denmark?
Senator, one of the things that President Trump is so good at is never strategically tipping his hand. And so I would never in this public forum give one way or another direct what orders the president would give me in any context.
That sounds to me that you would contemplate carrying out such an order to basically invade Greenland and take over the Panama Canal. Would you use our military to take over Greenland?
Have you led an audit of any organization? Yes or no? I don't want a long answer. Yes or no? Have you led an audit of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no? Did you lead an audit?
And the way
yes
my
or
leadership
no? Did you lead an audit?
Stated,
yes or no?
Completely
what are you afraid of? You can't answer this question. Yes or no? Did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator, every
yes or
part
no?
of my leadership
yes
of these
or no?
organizations
yes
has
or
been
no? Did you lead an audit?
misrepresented
I will take that as a no.
bottom.
What were the findings? So there were no findings because you've never led an audit. What guidance did you give the auditors? None, because you've never led an audit. Nobody expects you to be an accountant, Mr. Hegseth. What we expect is for you to understand the complexity of this Pentagon budget process that is absolutely necessary to outfit our warfighters.
So you got to hear some of the Democrats' ignorant questions, right? It went so terribly that CNN had a few segments on it. And here is one segment where Scott Jennings had something to say, and I actually completely agree. Check it out.
Well, in short, I think Pete Hegseth kicked their asses today. I mean, it wasn't even close. They didn't lay a glove on Hegseth. No mistakes, calm, cool, collected. I mean, before the thing even started, you had this like Code Pink, protester freak show trying to disrupt the hearing. That's the Democratic base, by the way, which probably explains why the Democrats on the committee acted in such a bizarre and unprofessional way. I was appalled at some of the way these senators handled themselves and some of the lines of questioning. I mean, Tim Kaine sounded like a sex pervert in his questioning of Pete Hegseth. Blumenthal, who lied about his service in Vietnam, questioning Hegseth's qualifications. You had Gillibrand, you had Warren, you had Hirono going on unhinged rants about things. Angus King obviously doesn't understand what it's like to fight terrorism. On and on and on. Hegseth was cool in the face of this unhinged questioning. They made him look good today. It would be difficult for a Republican to vote against Hegseth after the Democrats' unseemly mudslinging today.
I completely agree. And I agree with that statement from the beginning, right? We sent a clear message that we believe in Trump and we want Trump's agenda. And if you stand in the way of that, you will be voted out. You will be voted out 100%. And, along with obviously what Scott Jennings had to say, CNN, which I'm sure they absolutely hated. And you can kind of tell that they didn't really want to report on this by what this guy says here. Because obviously you got to mudsling first before you state the good news about Pete Hegseth, and that's what you'll hear. A little mudslinging first before you state the good news, which they never do with Democrats, by the way. But check it out.
Asked Senator John Thune, who's the Republican leader, the majority leader, decides the schedule of the United States Senate. I asked him about Hegseth's nomination. Thune has not said a ton about this nomination. I said, does he have any concerns about these allegations of sexual assault that Hegseth has denied but came up in today's hearing, about these allegations of misconduct and the like? And he indicated he does not. According to Thune, he said that Hegseth acquitted himself extremely well and that he plans to move very quickly on this nomination. And it is moving quickly. We expect the Senate Armed Services Committee to have a vote as soon as Monday, Inauguration Day. That is according to the chairman of the committee, Roger Wicker, who told me that he believes that he'll get the support of all Republicans and be able to push this through.
He will get the support of all Republicans. Yeah. Including someone that was allegedly still kind of on the fence in regards to Pete Hegseth. Hegseth. Goodness gracious, I can't talk. And that is Joni Ernst. But she recently came out and said that she was going to support Pete Hegseth. And I would tell her, great decision, because you would have been voted out if you didn't.
So to have someone that is willing to cut through that and get back to where we're focusing on readiness for our men and women, because you know, Simon, that's an important part for me, is that we recognize that women do have an important role in our military. And so he was adequately able to answer all of my questions. He pointed out the woke issues at the Pentagon. And I think we're at a point where now we can start moving forward. People know where he stands on these issues.
Yep.
So I felt it was a good hearing.
I thought it was a good hearing for him. Does he have your vote?
I am breaking news, Simon. I figured you would ask this. So, yes, I will be supporting President Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth.
That didn't sound too promising, because it seems like she might be holding out on some others, and we shall see, Joni Ernst. We are watching. We are watching. That is not a physical threat, but it is a threat to vote you out, which we will do. We will not forget. We are not playing games anymore. But to put the icing on the cake, Senator Markwayne Mullin, set them ablaze. Not literally, okay? But set them ablaze. Absolutely called out the Democrat senators' hypocrisy. Because, of course, one of the main narratives when it comes to Pete Hegseth is this alleged drinking problem, right? And Markwayne Mullin calls out senators because he says that, and I'm not going to go into all of it because he says more than this, but a part of what he says is, how many times have Democrats watched other senators, right? How many times have all senators seen senators come in to the chamber drunk? And have they asked them to leave or quit their job? And it's absolutely hilarious that he calls all of these folks out for being alcoholics when they're trying to accuse Pete Hegseth of being an alcoholic. Check it out.
And when we start talking about qualifications for if you're qualified for it, could the chairman tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense? Mr. Chairman, could you tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense?
I'd be happy
I'll read
for
it.
you to do that. Yeah.
Let me read it for you, because I Googled
I was getting some advice from my second in command.
Yeah, but I'm just making a point, because there's a lot about qualifications, and I think it's so hypocritical of senators, especially on the other side of the aisle, be talking about his qualifications, not being able to lead the secretary or be the Secretary of Defense, and yet your qualifications aren't any better. You guys aren't any more qualified to be the senator than I'm qualified to be the senator, except we're lucky enough to be here. But let me read you what the qualifications of the Secretary of Defense is, because I Googled it and went through a lot of different sites, and really it's hard to see. But in general, the U.S. Secretary of Defense position is filled by a civilian. That's it. If you have served in the U.S. Army Forces and have been in the service for, you have to be retired for at least 7 years, and Congress can weigh that. And then there's questions that the senator from Massachusetts brought up about serving on a board inside the military industry, and yet your own secretary that you all voted for, Secretary Austin, we had to vote on a waiver because he stepped off the board of Raytheon. But I guess that's okay, because that's a Democrat Secretary of Defense. But you so quickly forget about that. And then Senator Kaine, or I guess I better use the senator from Virginia, starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night? Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it, because I know you have. And then how many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives? Did you ask them to step down? No. But it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and point out the hypocrisy because the man's made a mistake. And you want to sit there and say that he's not qualified? Give me a joke. I mean, it is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher standard and you forget you got a big plank in your eye. We've all made mistakes. I've made mistakes. And Jennifer, thank you for loving him through that mistake. Because the only reason why I'm here and not in prison is because my wife loved me too. I have changed, but I'm not perfect. But I found somebody that thought I was perfect. And for whatever reason, you love Pete, and I don't know why. But just like our Lord and Savior forgave me, my wife's had to forgive me more than once too, and I'm sure you've had to forgive him too. And so thank you. So before I...
Yeah, so shout out to Mark Wayne Mullen, man. Absolutely put the cherry on top of this absolutely ridiculous clown show that the Democrats wanted to put on. Absolute clown show. Absolute clown show. But once again, it has backfired on the Democrats tremendously to the point where it is expected that Pete Hegseth is 100% going to get confirmed. Like it's not even in doubt anymore. Not even in doubt. So congratulations, Democrats. Once again, you have played yourself. All right. The shenanigans, the fake acting. Right. And actually, I made a video on that just the other day. If you haven't watched it, go and check it out. I think it's titled They're All Paid Actors or something like that. I think that's what I titled it, which the Democrats are. That's all that they do. It's theatrics, dramatizations. Oh, my goodness. Oh, you're a drinker. How dare you? Even though you watched your colleagues on a nightly basis sometimes come in sloshed. Even one of the senators, one of the Democrat senators, I can't think of her name. Let me bring her back up. Oh, Mazi Harano. I mean, when you listen to her speak, I mean, it kind of sounded like she was slurring just a little bit. Maybe that's just the way she talks, but she was slurring a little bit there on her words. You know, I don't know. I'm not accusing her of anything, but you know, I'm not saying that she was completely sober. I mean, there's a possibility that she had a few little, you know, early mimosas or something. I don't know, but yeah, I love that he called out Mark Wayne Mullen called out their hypocrisy. Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, man, let me know what y'all think. Thanks for tuning in as always. Peace and love. I'm out.